One example of this is also when I was a kid, I used to have little OCD tendencies where I really had a problem with odd numbers or number they were like threes, sevens, and if it was like volume, it had to either be on like increments of 5 or increments of 10 or even numbers. And so it got so bad to the point where like if I saw that the volume was on an odd number, I would get like almost anxious and like just until I switched it. And so one day I had to tell myself like stop. You have to actually feel what it feels like to have that odd number there and sit in it and keep doing it, or else this will always bother you. And that's what I did. And now I do still do it. Now I kind of intentionally do it so that way I am not falling back into that pattern, but it can be something that can overwhelm your brain. And so pushing through it is helpful. And it doesn't mean that I had full blown OCD even as a child. It's just something that I was doing to whether it was cope or feel like it felt like good and it was like soothing. But the problem is if the opposite is going to cause so much stress and harm, then we can't do it. Then we have to figure out pushing through and getting comfortable with uncomfortable. And that can be some of the hardest things to learn. I think a lot of people mix up mental health disorders and symptoms of a mental health disorder. And I say this because I see it all the time where people are like, I'm anxious, I'm depressed, I'm so OCD. And what they mean is actually just they have little bits of the things that make that an actual disorder. And I only talk on this because I think that it really is important to make sure we all remember that it is normal to have some of those things. Totally normal to have some of those little features. When it starts to disrupt your everyday life or your ability to work or your ability to interact with your family or your friends or do the things you love, what have you, that's when we start to be like, okay, let's look at that. Do we want to intervene? Do we want to get in there with some medication? But I just think that we also can remember that some of that stuff is good. It's everything is good in moderation, baby. It's just a matter of how much is it affecting you?